Hello and welcome to Adept Scientific's webinar for EndNote X7 for Mac and some of the new features that have been released for the software. Some of the features that have been released have only just been released for the 7.1 update for Windows, however have actually been part of the default release for X7 for Macintosh. So what we'll do is cover some of those features again, just in case there are any that our users aren't too familiar with yet, but would like some more information for. So the first feature that we'll take a look at is the Getting Started with EndNote guide. This can be found either when you initially install and launch EndNote, or by going to the Help menu and clicking on Welcome to EndNote. What will be launched then is a window with a few pages that just briefly detail some of the key features of EndNote that new users might not be aware of. On the right hand side of each of these pages is a red arrow. If you click on the red arrow, some additional information on those features will be found. Clicking it again will take you back to the default screen. At the bottom of each of these windows is a piece of white text which will either take you to the Preferences menu for EndNote, or it will take you to one of EndNote's websites, some of which have a nice YouTube video that goes into a little bit more detail about that feature. One of the new features in EndNote X7 is the way in which EndNote handles its search terms within the library. Now, historically, if you were searching for two terms, say for example in the title of a reference, in my particular example, I will use the word morphology, and we'll also use evolving. Historically, if you wanted to search for these two terms, knowing that they weren't directly next to each other in the text, you would need to put an uppercase "and" in between your two search words. In EndNote X7, this is no longer the case. So if we remove the "and" text there and simply leave morphology and evolving and then press enter to enter our search term, the reference that we were expecting to see in our search results has appeared. So you can see here the morphology of passively evolving galaxies, evolving and morphology obviously not next to each other, but they have both been picked up. In the Windows release of EndNote X7, you'll notice that the two terms that have been searched are highlighted within the search results. Unfortunately, at the present time, that's not part of the Mac release, but hopefully will be something that we'll see in a future update. Moving on to one of the next areas of improvement for EndNote is the way in which PDF attachments are annotated. So using the same reference that we had before, if we open the PDF, we just give that a moment to populate, and what you can see here is we have the A4 view of our full reference. Now from the toolbar at the top of the screen, if we select the rightmost icon, we will get a second toolbar appear. This is our annotation toolbar for the PDFs, and what we can do here is we can choose to either highlight, underline, strike through, or add sticky notes to our PDF. One thing to make note of with these features is that these are one click on, one click off. So as you can see from my screen, I have clicked on the highlighting option. So if I highlight some text and let go, the text will be highlighted. And similarly, if I do the same again, more text will be highlighted. So this feature will remain on until I decide to click it off. The same can be said of the underlining feature, which we can see demonstrated there. So we'll click that off. Following that, there is the strike through option, which can be seen there. We'll click that off, and also the sticky notes. One thing to be wary of with sticky notes is that they will keep appearing until you turn off the feature. That's something that sometimes people don't realize, and they end up with more sticky notes than they want in their PDFs. As ever, any annotations to PDFs are transferable and can be opened through different PDF editors if needed. So if we come out of that example for now, and what we'll move on to next is the Find Full Text feature within EndNote, and that can be found within the Preferences menu. As you can see in the Preferences menu here, there are 4 options at the top of the screen for Web of Knowledge, DOI, PubMed, and OpenURL. The change that has been made in EndNote X7 is that the PubMed option, the third option down, is ticked by default, which gives you just that extra location to look for your PDFs. One more feature that is new to the X7 release is the automatically invoke Find Full Text on Newly Imported References feature, which you can see at the bottom of the screen. With this activated, new references will be scanned by EndNote, and it will go online and try to find additional reference information for you, and where it can, a PDF attachment. This feature will not be invoked if you are importing existing PDFs, importing existing EndNote libraries into your own library, or if you are browsing online search results. Okay, if we move over to Microsoft Word for the next feature, what we want to have a quick look at is the way in which your in-text citations are linked to your bibliography entry. Now, as you can see here, I've set up a very small example document with a test citation in it, and on a separate page I've put a bibliography entry. Now, historically, what would be the case in former releases is if you clicked on the citation in your text, you would be taken automatically to your bibliography entry. In EndNote X7, that's no longer the case, and what we can do is we can have a look in our Cite While You Write Configure Bibliography menu, and we can see why that's the case. Within the Format Bibliography tab, you can see an option entitled Link in-text citations to references in the bibliography. This has been turned off by default in EndNote X7 for the Mac, whereas it used to be turned on by default. Where that was the case, any users clicking on in-text citations would be taken directly to the bibliography entry. As you can imagine, for larger documents, this is quite inconvenient because it is quite difficult to get to exactly where you were before. So that's quite a nice new feature that they have implemented there. Moving back into the EndNote program itself now, we can take a look at the way EndNote handles PDF naming when it imports items into its library. Again, we're going back into the Preferences menu, but this time, instead of looking at Find Full Text, we're going to look at PDF handling. My default option here is not to rename any imported PDFs, but the options here, as you can see, are quite varied and can be customized if you choose to. You can note about 2/3 of the way down this menu that file names may be up to 50 characters long. What EndNote will do is it will take information from the selected items and will create a file name of up to 50 characters based on that information. Say, for example, if I chose to select the author, year, and title format, but my reference didn't have a year for some reason, what EndNote would then do is it would make up those missing characters in the file name using the information that it does have, so the author and the title. Another feature that has been improved slightly for EndNote X7 is the DOI matching when you import PDFs. For users that aren't too familiar with the term DOI, it stands for Digital Object Identifier. And this is a number that EndNote uses when PDFs are imported into the library in order to go online, search for your reference information, and automatically populate your references. This feature has been improved with X7 so that you should see more results for the PDFs that you import. Another feature that has been improved for EndNote X7 is your find and replace function. Some users I've spoken to in the past have indicated that it would be nice to be able to remove double spaces from fields within EndNote. So say for example I have some references where there is double spacing in the title field. In the past I would have had to manually find and replace these. However, with EndNote X7 I can select my field, and in the search for text, if I put 2 spaces, and then in the change text to, I simply put a single space and then click on the change button. What I should then find is that any references that have double spaces between the search term, between the title items, will be found, and I can then choose to replace them with a single space. As you can see there, 4 changes have been made in 2 references. So this should help a lot of users to make their references to be a lot more accurate in the long run. Okay, the one final update to X7 which some users may find very useful is an update in the way in which the synchronization function deals with groups, smart groups, and combined groups. And to have a quick look at that, we're going to go across to a short PowerPoint presentation, which I think will demonstrate the problem quite usefully. So in the scenario that we have painted here, we have a primary machine and our EndNote Online library in the cloud. Now, on our primary machine, we have our manual groups, which are the blue icons there, and the green icon represents our smart and combined groups. In previous versions of EndNote, the manual groups have been able to sync back and forth from the cloud. As you can see there, the group is accessible on the cloud as well. Say if we have a second machine, we can also send that manual group down to the second machine, and there it is, accessible as well. So the manual groups are accessible through all 3 areas. With the EndNote X7.1 update, this is 7.1 for Windows and Macintosh, we can now send our smart and combined groups through the cloud down to our secondary machine, where the group is then accessible again. One thing you may note is that there is no green icon in the cloud. Unfortunately, at the present time, smart groups and combined groups aren't actually possible through the EndNote Online application. We're hoping this is something that will change in the future. However, at the present time is not possible. That brings to a close our summary of the EndNote X7 features. If anyone does have any questions about any of the particular features or wants a little bit more information, do feel free to email us at support@adeptscience.co.uk. Thank you very much.